what you gonna do? Hey.
Ah, good Lord, what you gonna do? It's a good question, isn't it? Carol, how, let me say what I was gonna say. How hard is it, Carol? I ask you, out there in Raleigh. How hard is it to find a James Brown song that hasn't already been drilled into your head a million times? Huh? On a scale of 1 to 10, Carol?
You did a great job.
Oh, she says I did a great job. 11, at least. Every James Brown song you ever hear is like, oh, yeah, get on the good foot. Yeah. You know, you've heard them a million times. What did I do? What did we do here at Monkey Time? We gave you a James Brown tune you had not heard a million times. Some of you probably never heard of it. I'd say most of them, Carol. Tell me what you're gonna do. Those horns. All right, so what you're gonna do is a good question. I mean, the GOP is gonna accomplish this. You know, they're ramming through all these bills last minute. This is, the whole, can we put up number, what is it, Carol? Number 5, please? Thank you. Oh, the Democrats did it back in the 1970s. That's their excuse, Carol. Jim Hunt limited the, lieutenant governor's powers, and Jim Black did all, Jim Black. God, don't get me started about Jim Black, how corrupt that Democrat was. But we're talking, they're going back to the 70s, 80s, and 90s to make up. They're getting back for stuff that was done to the Republicans 40 years ago. 40 years ago. And they're ignoring the fact that the internet's happened. 40 years ago, if there would have been social media, it would have been a lot harder for the Democrats to do what they were doing. And there would have been just as much outrage because, why, Carol? It's wrong. You know, these politicians, they play their games. They think it's like, oh, well, we won, now we're going to punish you. They do that all the time. It happens in the corporate world too, right? Right, Carol? Somebody gets the corner office and immediately starts, moving the coffee machine a little closer to them and away from their political enemies. This is the level of discourse we're talking about. Let's get vengeance for stuff that happened 30 years ago. This is not what they promised, A, which is funny. That's one of the arguments I'm hearing from Democratic folks online on Twitter. Really, and if you go back and look, when they took over the legislature, what Phil Berger and Tim Moore and Tom Tillis, who's now in the U.S. Senate, if you go back and look at what they did, what they said, oh my God, they were all like, oh, we're going to be more transparent. We're not going to do it the way that the Democrats did it. They did. We're not going to be like, we're going to be open. The people are going to see the business, and now that they're in power, Carol, what a surprise. What a shock. What a shock. Tim Moore turns out to be just as much of a corrupt jerk as Jim Black. And Carol, he may not be accepting bags of cash under men's room stalls, which is still my favorite image of Jim Black and the North Carolina Democratic Party in the 90s or early 2000s. Jim Black reaching under the men's room stall going, oh, look at this, crinkly. Oh, yeah, here, yeah, oh, look at this paper bag. Oh, look at all that money in that brown paper bag underneath the men's room stall. That was the head of the North Carolina House, Jim Black. So, yeah, there was a lot of bullcrap going on. But, Carol, here's the difference. There really is a difference. Put up number 8, if you could, please, Carol. Thank you. Excuse me. Isn't that great how I can cough and not move my lips? So Roy Cooper came out and called this unprecedented today in a press conference, right? Unprecedented power grab. And the GOP has a kind of point going, well, no, it's really not. And they're digging back 20 years ago, 40 years ago, and finding all these examples of when Democrats did something kind of similar. But the scope, the scale, and the extent of what the GOP is doing is so much broader and so much more insulting and so much more anti-democratic than what the NC Dems did. It's not about the governor's appointee power so much, right? They've been playing games with that forever. But the State Board of Elections, that's the big one. Focus on that. Carol, they're saying they created this new nonpartisan, bipartisan, whatever, without talking to any Dems, without getting any Democratic input, and just presenting it in a 3-day session, right, as a done deal, where they have the votes to pass it. They're calling that bipartisan. What crap. But they have skewed the rules so much that in every even-numbered year, the GOP will control the State Board of Elections. What happens in even-numbered years, Carol? All the important elections. Presidents. What happens in off years? City council, half a city council, you know. What? What'd you say? Dog catcher. Soil and water conservation specialist. No, that was this year. That's an important one, damn it. That was this year. No, but I mean, they're pretending to be bipartisan, nonpartisan, while doing nothing to talk to Democrats about any of these bills before they're voted on. Nothing. And skewing them. And the State Board of Elections, this isn't just politicians getting back at one another like, you know, moving the water cooler or the microwave closer to your corner office. This isn't like that. They're screwing with voters, you and me. They're screwing directly with your ability to vote. Why are they doing this new way of creating the State Board of Elections? Why are they doing that? Because the GOP wants control so that they can reduce the number of polling places where poor people vote, where minorities vote, and reduce the number of hours where poor people vote and minorities vote, and increase the length of the lines where poor people vote and where Democrats vote. That's why they're doing this. There's no other reason they're doing this. And for them to go back and say, well, Jim Black, you know, and Jim Hunt in the 1970s, you know, went ahead and reduced the lieutenant governor's powers, so we're just doing that. We're just doing the same thing they did, while looking at while ignoring what they're doing with the State Board of Elections and trying to paint that as some kind of bipartisan deal. They're full of crap. Tim Moore is a lying sack of crap. He knows it. He knows he's a lying sack of crap. Phil Berger knows he's a lying sack of crap. They are. Carol, they don't believe me. It's true. This is unprecedented. What they're doing to the State Board of Elections to retain control, GOP control, in all even-numbered years that there are elections. What the hell? What state does that? What other state does that? I want to know. I was looking around this afternoon, but I was at work, so, you know, I couldn't look too hard. But I don't know other state does that. Gives one party control over all the boards of elections during even-numbered years when the major elections are all held? What state does that? What other state does that? Maybe Texas, Carol. Maybe. Maybe now Wisconsin. That's completely undemocratic. It's not bipartisan. They're lying out of their butts. Look. Oh, I just lied. Oh, look. There's another lie coming out of Tim Moore's mouth. Oh, look, Phil Berger just pooped out another lie. All these guys. It's ridiculous. And they're painting it as like this nonpartisan thing. Forget about everything else. The State Board of Election thing is the thing that's really unprecedented. There, I'll set it. They're going after you. Not just the Democrats and the Republicans fighting each other in the legislature. They're going after you right now. You, your right to vote. Your right to have polling places near your house with hours that are convenient to you. They don't like that. Nope. Unprecedented is the right word for the stuff that they're pulling. It's way beyond anything that the corrupt Jim Black and Jim Hunt and anyone else did. It's way beyond. It is indeed unprecedented in our history, what they're doing to the boards of election. That's the single most important issue for me. I mean, there's other ones, Carol, like, you know, that Pat McCrory suddenly has 1,500 appointees that he can use. All he did was use that to fatten up his buddies' pockets at your expense. And now that he's gone, the legislature's like, oh, well, that's too many. You know, now it's down to 300, which is below what it was before McCrory. And they're lying. All these guys, Woodcocks and Woodhouse, all these, Dallas Woodhouse, all these guys, they just lie on Twitter. They just lie and try to confuse the issue. They have a couple good points, Carol. Democrats really were jerks. Really was. They did really pull some jerky moves. Can we put up number 7, Carol? And it's important to remember, Democrats, that the ongoing dumpster fire over the last 7 years of the North Carolina Democratic Party is why we're here. That's why we're here. Sexual harassment suits, completely incompetent fundraising, there were infighting left and right. There were some real problems with the North Carolina Democratic Party that kept them from doing even basic stuff like fielding candidates in races that might have had a chance, and raising money and throwing money into races that didn't look good at first but might have maybe done something, right? This is important. How about number 6, Carol? This is the thing. This is when James Brown asks, tell me what you're going to do. This is what we need to do. We need to push, join up the local Democratic Party, join up with your local county party, and push them, and push the state Democratic Party to raise money and throw candidates into these races so that the Republicans actually have to defend them instead of sitting pretty with this majority that they've got, supermajority, and not getting any kind of challenger in any of these quote-unquote safe districts. It's stupid. Some of those districts could turn with the right candidates, with the right amount of money, with the right, coincidences, whatever. We need to be putting candidates into these districts that are unchallenged and hustling and making it work. The North Carolina Democratic Party just gave up. Gives up. Not worth it. Nah. And the National Democratic Party. Thomas Mills, a local consultant, a state consultant, North Carolina Democratic Party, smart guy, has a blog, really smart guy. He talks about, he ran as a long shot candidate in one of these Senate races, or state legislative races. And he talks about not even getting the time of day from the National Democrats. Not even the time of day, not even a phone call, not even a meeting. Just really abrupt and dismissive. What did they do with all that money? Oh, they spent it all in places like New Orleans where they were hoping to run up the popular vote score and not going to visit Wisconsin. The National Democratic Party doesn't have a clue about how important it is to get people running in these local races. The state Democratic Party has been so dysfunctional that they don't have a clue about how important it is to get people running in these uncontested races in Republican districts, Republican-dominated districts. These dominated districts, it's 60-40 maybe sometimes, but it's 52-48 other times, 55-45 other times. You get a young, exciting, interesting candidate in some of these districts around the state, there's a fighting chance. You either fight or you don't. Look, we've lost this one. They're going to get everything they want, and anybody who thinks Pat McCrory is going to veto this, I love that, Carol. Some liberal commentators I know are like, oh, well, now's the time for Pat McCrory to stand up to this. And I love you, Chris Fitzsimmons, but, that's just completely bonkers. I mean, he's meeting with Trump. Yeah. McCrory knows, McCrory's a smart, cowardly guy. He knows exactly what side his bread's buttered on for the next 4 years. And we are screwed here in North Carolina, right? They're going to win this one. I hate to say it. People are getting arrested. That's good. People are protesting. That's good. But they have all the votes. They're corrupt as hell. I almost said the F word there, Carol. Corrupt as you know what? AF. Oh, can I even say AF? Because now I've put the F in their minds. I have put the F in your minds now. They're corrupt AF. I think that would be okay in court, Carol. I could stand up in a jury box or a witness stand, or where does the accused go? The witness stand, right? I could stand up in a witness stand saying, corrupt AF is in your mind, I said nothing. They're corrupt AF. And you know what? They're going to win this one. So now we need to look ahead. Yes, make noise. Yes, protest. Yes, make phone calls. Tim Moore's office, Phil Berger's office, they need to be getting inundated with calls. People are tweeting their numbers all over the place, Facebooking their numbers all over the place. It's easy to find. North Carolina Legislature, Tim Moore office. Google it. Yes, do all that stuff. But we need to be thinking long term. And we need to not despair. We need to get the North Carolina Democratic Party back in line, fighting, angry, fielding candidates in races all across the state so that Republicans are forced to defend this crap instead of just coasting in mostly uncontested districts. Does that make sense, Carol? It's a strategy, people. It's a strategy. It's a good one. It's kind of the best one for the next 2 years that we have. And voter registration. Oh my God, you've got to look at that State Board of Education bill. It's so convoluted. And it's all designed in some weird convoluted way to get the GOP to be able to reduce polling places and polling hours for the foreseeable future. That's it. That's what's unprecedented. That's where the Democrats are right, that this is different. This isn't just Democrats and Republicans fighting in the legislative building over perks and appointments and all this. This is the North Carolina Republican Party, the NC GOP, attacking voters directly. That's what this is. All right, Carol, put up the credits. I want to take a break. We only got about 8 minutes left. Can you put up the credits? I don't even know where the credits are anymore. Oh, okay. Okay, while Carol's hunting the credits, I got to say this. Oh, put up my Twitter page, Carol. It's number 9? Number 9? 10. Thanks. Yeah, you don't have to follow me, but I've been having some good discussions and retweeting a bunch of good people. Mostly I just retweet people these days. And bitch about Star Wars. Oh my God, Carol. Carol, listen to me. How many times did this happen? You ready? Somebody watched the original movie, Star Wars, Chapter 4, the first one. And somebody says, walks out of the theater, oh, well, you know what I really want to know? More than anything, Carol? How did those rebels get those plans for that Death Star? That's the most fascinating story. No, nobody ever said that. Never once did anybody leave the Star Wars movie going, how did those rebels get those Death Plan stars? Oh, look at all those old sponsors. Half of them are probably out of business now. No, actually they're not. They're all, we were doing pretty good. Oh, North American Video's out of business. Not really defunct. Oh yeah, that was when they weren't really defunct. Wow. And you lovely creature, are you defunct? Are you defunct? Just delete that. Delete North American Video. You lovely creatures, thank you. Why don't we put that James Brown tune back on again, Carol? Do you mind? Give me a 2-minute break and I'll be back. The main thing I think we need to think about is how can we get the Democratic Party built up from the ground up? Because the people at the top of the Democratic Party for too long have been corrupt or incompetent, it seems to me, in the state and at the national level. I mean, how do you lose to Donald Trump? Oh, right, it's the Russians' fault. Yeah, kind of, sort of, yeah, but mostly it was a terribly run campaign. Hillary is not a good campaigner. We were talking about this before, Carol. I got pushback from people on this all the time. I was like, she's not a good campaigner. And all of her people, Panetta and all those people, thought they were on top of everything, and they weren't. They weren't. All of their models were off. That's on them, right? That's on them. And here's the other thing, Carol. Obama knew that the Russians had some kind of influence on the election, right? That there was a hack of both the Dems and the Republicans. And Mitch McConnell threatened him and said, if you release this now, right before, in the months before the election, this was in the summer, August, I think, then I will say you're trying to turn the election into a partisan thing. And Obama, at that point, should have called his bluff. Seriously. And said, this is evidence of a foreign power hacking our elections. At that point, Obama is guilty of dereliction of duty. He's sworn to defend the Constitution. I believe that. He is guilty of dereliction of duty to save. He thought Hillary's going to win like everyone else did. Even Donald Trump thought Hillary was going to win until election night. No, clearly you can see it in the pictures when he realizes he's winning. He's like, yeah. Everyone around him smiling. He's like, yeah. So yeah, that's, he thought it would be okay to not mention to the American people that the intelligence agencies had good evidence that hacks were done to both the Democrats and the Republicans, but only the Democratic ones were being shared online. That's dereliction of duty. I'm sorry, y'all, but that's on Obama. All right, so distraction, right? We're all allowed some distraction. It's the Christmas season. Have you seen Loving yet, Carol? Yeah, Loving is at the Rialto. Tonight's the last night, I think. And then they're going to do Moonlight, which is also good. But here's the thing. These are adult movies. Not like Rogue One, which I'm going to go see, at a matinee on Monday on my day off, But Moonlight and Loving are understated movies. Do you get what I mean by that, Carol? The performances are quiet. The writing doesn't beat you over the head with plot twists and, it's just people. And yet, once you sink into their groove and allow it to wash over you, especially in Loving, the portrait of the family, this is the husband and wife, white man, African-American woman, married in Virginia in 1958. Took them 10 years, Carol, to get to the Supreme Court, and that overturned the anti-race mixing laws, miscegenation laws in the United States. Somebody made a documentary, or not a docudrama about it. But Carol, here's the best part. Are you ready? After the initial, arrest scenes, there are no courtroom scenes in this movie. Maybe a teeny bit at the end when they get to the Supreme Court. It's not a courtroom battle. It's just an understated little movie about the relationship between this man and woman over 10 years as their court case winds through the system. Do they want to go to the press? Do they want to actually do the court case at all? All these things that they're negotiating with themselves. And it's not done in a heavy-handed way. In fact, some people say it's done in such an understated, light-handed way that you kind of feel too much emotional distance from the story. I've heard that criticism, and I can see that being fair. But it's a 2-hour movie that is just this beautifully acted portrait of two people in a weird situation pushing for justice, right? Kind of not even really pushing for justice, just pushing to go back home. Because Virginia banned them from living in the same county as husband and wife. Loving. It's really good. It'll come to the $1.50 theater sometime soon, or $2 theater sometime soon, I'm sure. Best performances I've seen, two of the best performances, Ruth Negga as the African-American woman, and Joel Edgerton as the husband, the white husband. So good distraction there. What else we got, Carol? Oh, Moonlight was good. And it's a gay coming out kind of story, but not really. It's mostly about masculinity and blackness and there's a little bit of gayness there, right? So Moonlight is opening at the Rialto this week, this Friday, I think. And it's another understated, about an hour-and-a-half movie where it's just the main character is played by 3 different actors of 3 different ages, and then you just follow him as he kind of, grows. And it's just a really gentle, beautiful movie. Don't expect a whole lot of action, but it's a really beautifully acted, understated movie. I love these understated movies. All right, I think that's about it. 30 seconds. Tell people we love them. You know what I'm really looking forward to that I got from Netflix? And I still get Netflix DVDs, and I am not ashamed. I am not ashamed, Carol. I go on Netflix's DVD queue, my little DVD thing. We have streaming too, my roommate does. But I find the things that are not yet available streaming anywhere. Phantasm from the 70s, the horror movie, just got released in a nice DVD edition. I got it at home. You can't stream that crap anywhere. See you next week.